To become one of the greats in track and field, you normally gotta do two things. You have to win gold medals on the world stage, and to be real, I'm definitely talking about the Olympics. No shade against the world champs, it just is what it is. And beyond that, you actually have to break world records along the way. And Armand Mondo Duplantis has done that over and over and over again. We're at a point where when Mondo Duplantis breaks a world record in the pole vault, it is no longer news. It's really newsworthy if he doesn't break a world record. Allow me to narrate how I even decided to make this video. I was scrolling through my feed on social media, and I saw an alert that Mondo Duplantis broke the world record in the pole vault again. The first time I saw it, you know how social media sends you things in a feed, and it's not always sending you something that is recent? It just might be a post you didn't see yet. I thought this was one of those moments where I was like, all right, fine then. Maybe they're just sharing something old. And then I checked back at the source and looked and was like, okay, this was posted like a few moments ago. And once I digested that it was Mondo Duplantis breaking the pole vault world record again, I was like, you know what? The fact that my reaction is so basic tells you why I need to make this video. So here we go. Because Mondo Duplantis has broken track and field. He broke the sport a while ago, and most people haven't been paying attention. Because when you get to a point where breaking a world record is not a story, we have an issue. Because he's almost too good for the sport now, at least in that event. Let me clarify. I am aware, at least from track and field history, that Mondo Duplantis isn't the first pole vaulter to do this. I believe it was Sergei Bubka years ago, and I'm talking years ago, like the 1990s. He was Mondo Duplantis back at that era in history. He broke his own world record, I think it was over 30 times. So I guess that's what Mondo Duplantis is actually chasing. So when we call him the greatest of all time in the pole vault, the real question is, do you mean the greatest in terms of how high he's gone? Or do you mean the greatest in terms of how many times he's gone that high over and over and over again? Because if that is the case, then I guess he has some work to do. The pole vault is a unique event because the way it's set up, you basically get to choose the height. So when you get to a point where you can break world records, Mondo Duplantis does not have an incentive to show us just how high he can vault, because every time he breaks the world record, it is still a big deal because it has the terms world record on it. So he can just set it, I don't know, half a centimeter up and then break the world record again, which is likely what he's gonna do later on this season. I don't know how many times he's gonna feel like doing it, but yeah, just as many times as he feels like doing it, it's probably gonna happen. But the reason why we don't see anybody else like Mondo, specifically in the pole vault, is because there's never been anybody like Mondo. Allow me to explain. When you go all the way back to his performances at the high school level, that doesn't even begin to explain his dominance. Because Mondo Duplantis was basically bred to be a world-class pole vaulter. He came from a family where his father was a pole vaulter, and even his brothers were bred up in the sport along with him. But Mondo really took to it. By the time he got to high school, he was dominating in the state of Louisiana. Even though he competes for Sweden, that's where he attended high school. And he didn't just win in the pole vault, he was competitive in the 100, as well as the long jump. So he's a very legitimate athlete. If Mondo Duplantis never was a pole vaulter and only focused on the sprints and the jumps, he'd likely still be on the world stage competing for Sweden. I'm not saying that he's a name that you would recognize in the front of a 100-meter race against the pros, but they could probably use him on the 4x1, and we know how fast he is because of what he just did with Karsten Warholm. Karsten Warholm is a 400-meter hurdler, and he was still able to beat him through 100 meters as a vaulter. Nobody else in the world has trained this long at such a high level and has that level of talent in the pole vault. So it's really a no contest. The reason why I say Mondo broke the event, for that matter, he blew up the event, is because you can't watch a pole vault competition anymore as long as he's in it. What you're watching is the greatest vaulter in the world, the highest vaulter we've ever seen in history, and arguably the most dominant, but Sergei Bubka has something to say about it. That man is on display. Other people might be on the runway, but they're just the warm-up. The same way you go to a concert and like, before the main act comes out, they're gonna put like, I don't know, a pre-show. Somebody else gotta give us some songs while we wait for the real act to come out. Mondo Duplantis is clearly the real act when we are discussing the pole vault. Once again, no shade, I am just being honest. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. The current state of track and field focuses so much on individual athletes, where when you don't have a team framework, because the Olympics gives the illusion of a team framework. Again, the illusion of a team framework. We call it Team USA, for example, or Team Jamaica, Team Canada. So when people watch the games, they feel like they're watching the best in the world compete to represent their nations. Never mind the fact that they're not really teams, it's just a collection of individuals in a uniform. And we select who the people are, and even the results that you get back, like looking like Team USA in the men's 4x1, it's pretty proof. Like, it's proof positive that you're not necessarily getting a team. Because if it was, they'd be able to get the stick around. But when you move away from team track and field, and you focus only on individuals, which is what pro track and field looks like right now, what you're left with is, do we have the stars or do we not? And then, did you break a world record or did you not? That is why Mondo Duplantis' name has to stay in the news, because he keeps breaking world records. 100-meter runners can't just go out and break the world record like that. There's no way for them to budget their energy to just slightly break a record and then slightly break it again and slightly break it again. When Bolt broke the world records, he shattered them. And then it might take him a whole year to maybe get a chance to threaten it again. It just is what it is in those events. Even Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone in the 400 hurdles, she's been breaking her own world record, but she can't do it like 10, 11 times over the last few years. Once again, it doesn't set itself up quite like that. And Mondo makes it look so easy that it almost feels like, why don't we get this everywhere else? We're so used to seeing the term world record that it's really not a story anymore. Just go Google it. Some of the things you Google will say, surprise, surprise, Mondo Duplantis breaks the world record. It's like a joke now. Because he really is that talented, but at the same time, it's a little bit broken the way this is set up. He has the advantage of choosing the height. And no shade against him, it's just, it now impacts the rest of the sport and how everybody else is received. Mondo Duplantis is so talented, but in a true team track and field framework, like, I don't know, what they do in college, or some version of what they do in college, because this is conference championship weekend, he could actually be helpful in other events. So, unlike most vaulters in the world, if I was going to go compete in like a team framework where I needed an athlete who could do more than one thing, even if the pole vault is one of those things, he's the only vaulter that I know off the top of my head who I'm definitely putting on my team. Because he's going to win the vault, definitely, but I can still use him somewhere else. I can use him in a jump maybe, and I can even use him in a sprinting event. Because if you look at these pro fields that we got right now, they are not anywhere near as strong as you want to believe, top to bottom. That's a whole nother conversation that I have no interest in getting into right now. Simply put, when you put Mondo Duplantis on one end, you see an athlete who is so amazing and so top level that we expect him to do the impossible. And then, for that matter, show us that maybe it is possible. But ain't nobody else in the world have talent like that. And I don't see anybody else coming anytime soon. And then you move all the way to the other end for athletes who have a lot of talent across multiple events. Like Shamir Little on the women's side, between the 400 and the 400 hurdles, and she got versatility beyond that, I'm sure. Or Matthew Bowling between the jumps and the sprints, because he's got range from the 1 to the 4, and he can long jump at a very high level. These types of athletes do not get anywhere near the shine that they should, because they're really perfectly suited for team track and field, where you go out there and score points and you do it in multiple events. That's not what we do. We look for specialists in one event who can do that one better than anybody else. The names that most people know are the athletes who more or less have one event they do at a very high level. Usain Bolt maybe broke that curve between the 100 and the 200 because he was doing both at a very high level. But all the other top sprinters that you recognize, like a Tyson Gay, a Justin Gatlin, and I guess Noah Lyles is kind of confusing because he was a 200 runner who never won an Olympic gold in the 200. But now he has world and Olympic gold in the 100. So I guess maybe now he's a 100 runner. Regardless, it is nearly impossible to get someone who does multiple events. I've already been down to Sydney Path. So here we are. Mondo Duplantis broke the world record again. And I don't know how many other times it's going to happen. When it does happen, I guess I should dignify it and maybe talk to you about it. Because breaking a world record is a big deal. And I don't know how many other people are going to do it from now to the end of the season. Even though the distance runners are making it look real easy indoors this past year. But I am also pretty certain that I cannot be the only one who actually wants to find out by now. How high can Mondo Duplantis actually go? Because setting world records by a centimeter or an inch over and over and over again, it does make for a whole bunch of stories. But we know that the story is incredibly incomplete, because at this point, the facts are still the facts. Mondo Duplantis isn't just the best vaulter in the world, or perhaps the best vaulter we've ever seen all time. Nobody actually knows just how great he actually is, because there's no incentive to show us all at once. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything, because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your Fast is a Lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.